Unfortunately, the saying is lightning doesn't strike twice, but hopefully, hopefully we can change that. How
I
you
don't even know
doing?
where to start. you know, how you doing?
I think the better question is how you doing?
Honestly,
Oops,
yeah,
might have. It's been so long. I hit the wrong button.
sure. Better than I was. Where to start?
Lightning bolt
So
hit home.
yeah, Sunday morning, right? So Sunday morning, it's hard because there's all little parts of the story. Like I was woken up by the sound of my wife's phone buzzing, and it was because she was texting with our daughter Kelly. Kelly had to go to work, and so it was like 6:37, something like whatever time she goes to work. And it basically the dog was scratching at her door to get into her bedroom because of a storm
Mm-hmm.
and thunder and stuff. She's afraid of thunder, and so Kelly was like, "Look, you're gonna have to help the dog. Like, I have to go to work." She's freaking out. So my wife got up early because of the dog and blah blah blah, and that kind of woke me up. And so I don't know, seven-ish, whatever. I walked downstairs and I'm like, "What the hell's going on? It's just rain. It's raining, right?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whatever." Clearly like there was stuff going on in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I open the front door. It's pouring. And so we have like a storm door thing where you
Yeah.
pull the glass down and the screen unroll. I mean, like a screen unrolls. You know what I mean? So it's like a screen door. And I wanted to see if it was cool outside. And like within a span of a second, two things happened. One was it was way warmer than I thought it was going to be. And so I was going to put the thing back up. Right then, there was like an explosion, and like the whole circle, the view from the front door just flashed like white. Like I couldn't see anything, and I like literally like fell down. Like I kind of crouched down. Like what the hell? And it was like a bomb went off like right in front of me. And so I don't know, like I can't remember who thought what. Someone thought the house got hit by lightning or whatever. It was lightning, obviously. It was lightning, and whatever. The power never went out. Like I don't even think it flashed. Like light the power will kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think that happened, but the internet was out. So I'm like, okay, and I'm looking around, and like the cable box had nothing. It was like no lights on, nothing. And so I unplugged it, plugged it. It was dead. Anyway, long story short, internet's out. I did an automated thing to get the thing fixed. They were going to come on Tuesday. And then like over time, like what we start discovering is like there's other stuff broken. Like some lights were broke. My computer's dead. And by the way, you don't know this, but yesterday I found out the Sonos sub is dead. The Sonos Beam is dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I did it took 45 minutes, but I did like an online chat thing with them, and it's under warranty, so they're going to send one.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought the Xbox One X was dead. I left yesterday at some point to go for a walk or whatever. I left it was just sitting there spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, it was still sitting there spinning. I unplugged it, plugged it in, it wouldn't come on, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. And then I just left it sit for a while. Then I just pressed the power button. It came on. It installed some humongous update, and it honestly, right now I think it's fine. But the first everything was moving really slow, like just moving around the UI. And I tried to get in the game, and I couldn't play. Like the whole thing was like jaggedy.
Yeah.
It was just something wrong with it, and I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, lightning is weird. Like as you might have seen, I don't know if you read you should if you haven't. A lot of people who have experience with lightning say that this stuff is very common. So it could come in over the coaxial.
Yep.
Bypass. So the funny thing is, like, a lot of people have said, you could protect it with this, protect it with that. Like I have APCs and battery backed, power strips and all the stuff. Between the cable box and the computer that got destroyed, there are two switches and a router, right? A separate wireless router. So it made the leap all the way to this thing. Didn't destroy anything in between except for the sub, the Beam. Anyway. So anyway, we're down. And so, I just this year switched to Mint Mobile. I have a 12 gigabyte plan. I'm like, I can work off of this if I have to,
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I used like 6 gigabytes in 2.5 days. Like just doing work stuff. Like we don't appreciate people, these first world problems. This is 6 gigabytes a day to not doing the things I do most normally every day, like play Xbox or stream video over Netflix or whatever service. I mean, that's alarming, So there's that. But anyway, so whatever. We didn't have internet for a couple of days. And then I can't lose track of days. Tuesday came, and this hurricane thing that's now a tropical storm is moving up the coast. And, I didn't think too much of it. So it's Tuesday. My daughter again went to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for the cable guys to arrive to fix the box. A little worried he's not going to be able to do it. Shows up. goes around the house, figures out where there's signal, where there isn't. And he's like, yeah, there's something. We have like I don't know how this system works exactly, but there's a thing out in the street and a line goes under the ground of the house. He's like, out there, you get plenty of signal, and here you get nothing. So it's under the ground between here and there.
Yeah.
He's like, unfortunately, when it's under the ground like that, we have to get out a construction crew. And I can tell you they're not coming today because it's like raining like as hard as it ever rains. And I just had this conversation with somebody like when we moved here from Massachusetts, one of the big differences here is in Massachusetts, once a year, you get this crazy, heavy, heavy storm.
Yep.
Like waterfall rain once a year. And it would last for an hour, maybe a little more, a little less. But here that happens 6-8 times a year. And they often last longer than that. And this thing, it was raining like sheets of rain since 6 o'clock in the morning. And then this guy showed up at 11:30, still unbelievable. And he's like, I can't fix it. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. So I'm thinking it's going to be days. So eventually I go upstairs to work and I'm working on the laptop and I hear a truck pull up. I look outside and again, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's sheeting rain. And it's an RCN truck and there's a giant cable thing on the back. And I'm like, oh my God, they actually showed up. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you the best part of the story. So sorry, when RCN couldn't fix the cable, I'm like, well, might as well go to the gym. I got nothing to do. Right? I'm going to the gym. Dude, outside my door, there is a freaking disaster happening. And I was completely unaware of it. So I drove outside. I left my driveway or whatever. And normally I go left to go to the gym, but I went right because I wanted to go down the bridge of the creek because I know it overflows, it floods when it rains like this. I'm going to take a couple of pictures.
Yeah. So
I go down there, I take a couple of pictures. Sure enough, flooding, whatever. Turn around, I drive from there. I just drive straight up the street. Now that's a flat street. It's up on a hill, way above the creek, and to my mind goes straight. It actually tips a little bit, but that street was flooded. So I actually had to stop. I'm like at the edge of the water looking at it. It's like 3 feet deep, and I'm like, I can't. This is never flooded. I've never seen this before. Like this is above. This is like up on the hill. And I called my wife and I said, listen, Kelly's at work. You got to call her and tell her she's coming home. And I said, I'm going to drive. No, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't say that. I said, you should call Kelly and find out when she's coming home. Because I still think I'm going to the gym. This is crazy, dude. So I went back through my development, came out the other side, on the other side of the flood. Took a, it doesn't matter which way. Anyway, I go. And there's a part that's like, I drive through like a foot of water in one place. Like there's like a river running through the street. And I'm like, I can't go to the gym. This is crazy. Like, this is an emergency. So I called my wife back. I said, you get Kelly on the phone and you tell her she's coming home and she's not driving. I'm getting her. And without going through all the details, because who cares? You got to imagine. It's like I go down the road, it's river flooding. I can't come back. I go down this road, river flooding. I go down this road, flooding. I'm running out of like ways I can get to where she works. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not going to be able to reach her. And eventually, the last way I took, obviously, I did get through barely, and like I had to drive on like someone's lawn to get past the river. My daughter calls me, and I swear to God, she's like, "I can't really leave work right now. And I said, I'm like, Kelly, I just need to be really clear about this. This is an emergency. You are leaving work. I'm getting you, and I will drag you out of there if I have to." I'm like, you're leaving. And I'm like, I'll talk to your boss if you want. Everyone there needs to leave. It's super, like this is an emergency. And I barely got into the parking lot of the place where she is. And she came right out. So you could see everyone was huddling around. The managers looking out the window. They're on the phone and everything. And they're like, no one had any idea. They were all like, how come no one's coming in? It's like, because it's a restaurant. So anyway, we got her home. And it was okay. We left her car there. Barely made it home. And that's when I went up to work. And then those guys showed up and I'm like, how the hell are they out in this? Of course, the truck has like 18 inches of clearance. It's a huge truck. And they're out there like, I'm like, they're never going to fix. There's no way. And like so basically construction crew, I thought they were going to have a back end loader, but the cable is like 6 or 8 inches under the ground. It's just goes under the ground. So I don't know how they did it, but they had this thing and they found the spot where the lightning hit. They dug it up. The cable to the house was literally in 2 pieces, and they were charred roots from the tree in front of the house. And the guy said, he goes, I found out exactly where the lightning hit if you want to see it. And I'm like, I do want to see this. And it was like 15, maybe 20 feet from where I was standing.
Yeah.
So it did happen right in front of me. I kind of thought it was behind me like because I didn't see like a lightning bolt or whatever. But they just they cut it and they reconnected it and it went from like apocalypse to like, yeah, your internet's fine. Yeah, so then we started bringing stuff on, and then what you find is, and people told me this, like there's other stuff broken, and you just didn't realize it. So I'm like, I get TV up, I'm like, finally have Netflix the first time in 3 days. Could finish that Michael Jordan documentary. I can't wait to find out what happened in 1998. And turns out they won, by the way.
Did it?
Yeah, they won. And the sound is terrible. Mm-hmm. And I'm like doing the volume thing. I can see it's like the TV icon, not the the soundbar icon. And I'm like, oh, soundbar's dead. But they're going to replace it, under warranty. So
that's good.
I think that's most of the story. Yeah, it's quite a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, while you were off or enjoying your rustic vacation, Microsoft is continuing to try to buy TikTok, which is
the stupidest thing they've ever decided to maybe do. Yeah.
This one, I have really mixed feelings on this. One, I generally don't think it's a great decision. Like, I can't look at this like LinkedIn, despite the fact that they spent $22 billion on it. Like, I could at least get it, right? This is business stuff. This is where Microsoft makes money. They want to own that social network. Fine. No. TikTok is very much one of the best explanations I saw is like they'll get them with Minecraft, they'll move into TikTok, and then they'll move them to Exchange. And I was like,
Oh, stop, please.
It's like,
no. Listen, this is the problem, and it has nothing to do with China. Although that's a problem, right? But let's imagine TikTok was an American social networking company. It doesn't have to be Chinese. I mean, the biggest problem we have in the world right now, aside from this freaking COVID thing, is social networks usurping democracy, right?
Yes.
Maybe global warming is in the top 3 too, I guess. But those are the big problems. There is so much hate speech and so much terribleness that occurs on social networks that these things need to be policed. Mm-hmm. Why would Microsoft want to take on that burden?
Yep.
That is the stupidest. Now, there's all the political stuff too, and I think Microsoft, which has a fairly squeaky clean image despite what Slack did, compared to other tech giants, would make a huge dent to the reputation if they ever took on this thing. Because they're basically being handed it by the U.S. government. And, here we are complaining about collusion between Chinese companies and the Chinese government. And here we are, an American company colluding with the U.S. government. And, that's ironic and hypocritical. I don't know, whatever. But to me, though, the bigger issue, and this is the thing I didn't write about, but is the social networking policing that would have to occur.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Microsoft has stayed out of that sort of. I mean, you've got like the Reddits, the Twitters, Facebook, Instagram gets in there, tossed a little bit.
But
you're right though. Microsoft has avoided. They've avoided.
LinkedIn is safe. That makes sense. I mean, the purchase price made no sense, but as a Microsoft property, it makes sense. As a community, which Microsoft is really into. Minecraft, is a community. GitHub is a community. Like they like that kind of thing. I get it. I also feel like this community is very transient. I don't think TikTok has staying power, and I don't think TikTok is the future. I think there are going to be a lot of little things like this that kind of come and go, and maybe something someday takes over for Facebook or whatever. But this kind of reminds me of the Battle Royale thing with Call of Duty, where I said, this is kind of a feature of Call of Duty. I mean, TikTok, isn't that just a feature of Instagram or Facebook? I mean,
well, it is Facebook now. Quite literally, I think this morning announced a feature that's effectively the same thing. Snapchat is ripping it as well. So
yeah, of course. So I don't know. I would hate to see Microsoft's. This would be kind of a Nokia style thing, like you. Yeah. Except that TikTok is of course popular right now. But I mean, I just don't. It feels very. It doesn't feel permanent to me. It just feels.
Yes, I think that's a fair way to describe it, because there's two sides of it. Like if for some reason this does blow up and they have 1 billion users in a year, it'll be their greatest purchase ever. But I think that's a pretty big stretched from where they are acquiring it to where it needs to go to make huge long-term financial sense, and that's not just a flash in the pan.
Yep.
So we'll see. They've got until September 15th to figure it out. Also, the other thing is, too, is they're not buying the whole company. And this is the other issue. They're buying the U.S., like the Canada, like Australia. They're not getting the EU, by the way.
They're not getting the EU. Yeah. So don't do it.
They're effectively buying like I think they said there's 100 million users in the U.S. of it, And then I'm sure the other countries obviously have some users. But let's just say they're getting like 150 million monthly or probably daily users or whatever it is with the app. I don't know. We'll see. They got till September 15th to figure it out. And then we get to ride this train all the way into the Zune. So,
well, yeah, I mean, Xbox Live Gold, which I think we all believe is going away.
Did you see, by the way, that they updated their
terms of service?
They call it Xbox Online Services.
Yeah, so we suspect this is disappearing. So, but I don't remember the last figure for that service. But let's say it was in the 50 to 60 million range or something like that. For Xbox, actually, that might have been Xbox Live. Maybe it was even only 45 million. It was somewhere in there. And then, of course, we know that Xbox Game Pass is 10 million paying subscribers, right? By comparison, what did you say the TikTok number was? 100
million in the US?
100 million. I mean, that's you can kind of see the
logic on their end.
It's bigger than the things we have. Maybe that could help.
Like I get it. I understand why they would do it. Does it make sense as a business? I still don't know, but it's an easy land grab.
I don't think LinkedIn has paid off for them, and I don't think it ever will. I always thought that price was exorbitant.
Yeah, well, they've been writing some of it off, I believe, with goodwill, like them acknowledging that. But that's just part of the transaction. But I think
you get this whatever they pay. What do they pay? 26 billion or something crazy.
I think it's 22.6.
Stupid amount. Like 22.6 maybe. So, that's stupid. So I mean, TikTok isn't worth that much. I hope. I don't know. What is TikTok worth?
We don't know yet. We don't know what that number is going to be. The other interesting thing too is how they're actually going to pay for it. Because if they pay for it with stock. Microsoft stock is through the roof right now. They could actually probably get it relatively cheap, sort of. If they can leverage that a lot. So
I assume they're going to pay for it in Chinese yuan. I don't know.
I don't know. I bet actually, I can almost guarantee that if they do pay for any of it in cash, it's not cash coming from the U.S. bank reserves. They're going to use overseas assets to pay for it for sure. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll find out. Yeah. I mean, they've publicly said September 15th is their date, and
we haven't done the show in a while, have we? So it's been Thursday. It's almost a week. So a lot has happened. There's been a lot of Xbox stuff.
Yeah, I've got a review. I've had a minor issue getting that set up, but I told Paul about this thing. I tweeted it out too. This little thing here, which is actually honestly pretty damn neat. So it's this thing right
here.
This
is the dream right here. You go on a trip.
Yeah.
First of all, just going on a trip would be a dream, and then you can sit there in your plane seat and play games.
This effectively turns, like you put your phone here in the middle, and then these things clamp on the side. And the nice thing is it's not Bluetooth. This threw me it's USB-C, and so it effectively turns your phone into like a Nintendo Switch, but you're playing xCloud. So
and then that's pretty portable. It folds up. You can throw it in your bag or whatever.
It's really tiny. My biggest problem, and the review effectively did this. It's $100.
Yeah, right. I think it was the normal. They had a version previous to this. It was like $80, but the Xbox version, because it has the Xbox layout and the buttons and stuff. Well, there's a bunch of different options. There's the clip thing, like you and I both have a clip type thing where you put a controller on it, and that's a little bulkier or whatever. But I mean, that works and it's fine.
Yeah. Like the way I think of this thing, this is like the elite controller for cloud gaming. It's a great experience, but you got to pay for it if you really want to pay that.
Yeah, and so your hands. I mean, when you think about a controller, you're kind of doing this thing, but I guess this is like this. But
I mean, you can see it right here on the box. Is probably the best way.
Yeah, that's fine. That seems fine.
Honestly, I enjoyed it. Like I played it. I still don't think xCloud is great for multiplayer games, but you play single player campaign stuff, it's more than adequate. So.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed more than adequate gaming over the past 4 days, but less than adequate. That's the other problem. Like, I couldn't even download something.
Yeah.
Like I even like I have the computer I'm using right here is a laptop I'll be writing up hopefully today, and it's all jury rigged to all my stuff. I have to figure out a more permanent thing here, but what was I telling you? Oh, I just to download a few apps. Like I use Affinity Photo.
Yeah. There's an update.
Like a gigabyte download. It's a gigabyte. Mm-hmm. So I'm like. I'm like, I'm not going to take 1/12 of my total monthly bandwidth in a week where I kind of need the.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wait till the connection came back. And Visual Studio, normally I got that going. I haven't done Android Studio, but that's pretty big too. And you kind of forget. You don't really think about it when you have limitless resources. You just gobble it all down and don't even worry about it.
Fun times. Well, we're happy-ish that you're back.
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed about it as well.
I told this to Paul on the phone. I was like, when the lightning hit and you didn't die, I was hoping you said, "Not today, Satan."
Yeah.